Hello, my name is Larry Casso. I'd like to once again welcome you to my studio where we're about to attempt another watercolor that I hope you will enjoy. It is a scene from a recent trip to Jamaica, as well as other Caribbean islands, and a cruise where I took a number of students on a sketching and painting cruise. It was a lot of fun, and just want to welcome you to the demonstration. Hope you'll enjoy it. The scene that we're going to attempt, I'm going to call Jamaican Seashore. It was a painting that I attempted after the recent cruise, and I might mention that one of the outstanding things about doing something like this is the fact that you really do get exposed to a lot of different subject matter, different shapes, different colors, but especially I think you get exposed to a lot of different lighting. And I think the lighting was the major influence on me personally. And so as I attempt to do the painting with you again, actually the painting is completed. I think I mentioned I called it Jamaican Seashore. It's very typical of the area. And one of the unique things about it is that I attempted this painting with 5 colors. And this has been something that I've been experimenting with lately. And the primary reason for this is just to see what you can actually do with just 5 colors. And it's very handy, particularly when you want to do outdoor painting and sketching, something you want to do very quickly. You'll be amazed at the number of colors that you can paint with it and mix with it. This is not something that I'm attempting to do as a permanent thing personally. I still have a faux palette of about 18 colors, and others I'll use at different times. But this is attempted with 5 colors, and I got the idea to do this, which I've done quite a bit recently in quick sketches and paintings, and sometimes finished paintings, from a very famous English artist who primarily paints nautical scenes. And it seems like it was the custom in many of the schools in England to use just 5 colors going back a long period of time. So one day I just decided I'm going to go ahead and try this. And it's been a lot of fun, and kind of exciting to see what you can do with a limited palette. But the primary thing is something that you can do very, very quickly. And it eliminates a lot of the fuss and bother of trying to get the intricate colors. But again, we're not limiting ourselves to just the 5 colors now or at any time in the future. Now, I will briefly point out the colors to you at this point in time. And let's just hold the palette over it. I believe you can still see this. The colors that we're going to use are going to be cadmium red, cadmium yellow, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and hooker's green. And I have one thing to mention related to these colors that I think is very interesting, and that is the fact that I'm using a brand that was introduced to me by my daughter when she gave me a set of them for a birthday present, the 5 colors in fact that I'm using. And the paints are made by a company called M. Graham. And the unique thing about them is Mr. Graham, Art Graham actually is his name, when he founded his company, he went back to something that was done historically a number of years ago, where artists used honey as a binding medium. Now this is a rather unique thing for me, and one of the primary things that I liked about it was the brilliance of the colors, and the fact that the honey made all of the colors to be somewhat even in the way that you apply them. Anyone that's painted watercolor for a while knows the different physical characteristics and chemical characteristics of color and the different colors that you use. But these colors worked out very nicely in the particular way that they mixed, they blended, and the honey creates a situation where they stay moist much longer than regular watercolors do when you have them on your palette. So it's been a very great experiment, and I plan very shortly to carry the complete line of the M gram watercolors, and I recommend if you see them anywhere, try them. They're just really wonderful to use. I might mention I did a little further research on Mr. Graham, and many of you who go back 20, 25, 30 years know that the first 20, 25 years of my art academy we used nothing but the Grumbacher finest watercolor. And Grumbacher sold out a number of years ago. They discontinued them. I understand they may be back now, but after speaking with Mr. Graham personally and setting things up to begin ordering from him, I discovered that he at one time held many positions in the Grumbacher department that did the colors and things like this. So I thought it was very fitting that he would start his own company after this, and he produces these colors in Oregon. And so just a little side note, something new and different that I'm using that I think you really will enjoy. Okay, having said all of that now, let's just remove everything from here and we'll just go directly to the painting. Now I'd like to mention as we go to the watercolor itself that we're painting on Arches 300-pound watercolor paper. I find this to still be the finest watercolor paper to use. There are a lot of other good watercolor papers that I like and use, but the one thing that makes the Arches stand out more than any of the others is the fact that they're still handmade, mold-made, much like they were made 500 years ago when the company was making it in the late 1400s. And the unique thing about the Arches is that they use a sizing in it, a gelatin sizing. And what this enables you to do is to be able to actually put Misket on it, pick it up without hurting the paper. You can take a masking tape, an X-Acto knife, and cut on it. It doesn't hurt the paper. So, and besides the fact that it does have very nice characteristics, and all of my students are sold on it, most of them use the 300-pound watercolor paper exclusively. Now, as we proceed with this, let's begin by, first of all, recognizing the fact that I have a very detailed drawing that that you're looking at here, and when I say detailed, I mean in terms of the line patterns are very precise and clear where they need to be. A lot of the areas that are not specific I did not put on the paper, but I want you to notice that it's a custom with most artists that they will have a precise drawing and know exactly what they're doing when they paint it. Many people just quickly put a drawing on the paper. They think that later on they're going to come back and fill it in with color. Conversely, I like to have my drawing complete. I like to have all the information that I need, and then if I want to loosen up, take liberties, lost and found, this type of thing, this is what I do. Now, as I proceed with this painting, I'd like to mention the fact that you are going to have photographs of the completed painting. And to save time, and also because it's not necessary, I will be only doing portions. I'll do the sky, and I'll do portions of the water, portions of the boat, but to expedite things where you don't spend so much time watching a video, I will show you each area that I need to show you of necessity. The rest of it, all of you are experienced enough, you should be able to fill this in by yourself. Okay, so having said all of that, now let's begin the painting. Alright, now first of all, I'm going to put the masking tape on the horizon. Now, I might mention to you that don't run down to your local hardware store and just buy any kind of roll of tape, I should say, that you find. And generally, most people go out searching for the cheapest, which I can understand anyone wanting to conserve, money and supplies and things like this. But this is a Scotch number 232 masking tape. Don't ask me why. Years ago, when all of the masking tapes changed, the substance that they use for the glue, I never knew what it was or why they did it, but you used to be able to use all different colors. And now it's at a point where I've tried using even a Scotch number 230 and it still leaks. So remember that Scotch number 232. You may have to get it at office supply places, and that's primarily, I think, where you're going to be able to find it. Okay, now we put our masking tape on here, and we're going to now experiment with mixing the colors. Now, I want to mention to you that I'm going to approach this a little bit differently than what I would do if I were painting it myself. Okay, the biggest problem that people have when they're attempting to do a wet-on-wet sky is the fact that they will not be sure of themselves. Consequently, what happens is they wind up taking too much time trying to mix color, trying to reproduce things perfectly, and the end result is the fact that when they do this, the paper begins to dry. So what I may do is, this is probably done in 3 or 4 layers. I'd like to show you a little known technique that I discovered a while back. Maybe others do it, I don't know. But I always had a problem with experimenting and paper drying, so I found out that if you layer colors in lightly, okay, and because let's face it, the most frustrating thing I can think of is to try to do something like this where you are going to spend a lot of time preparing for it, whatever, and then ruin the sky. And I'm going to show you a foolproof way that you can learn to do wet-on-wet skies, wet-on-wet period, and never have a problem. And that's going to be primarily, you can layer it in layers, okay? If it looks like it's beginning to dry on you, then you stop and you totally dry it, okay? And then you come back after this and re-wet the entire paper again. And you can do this several times until you start getting the real strong darks in it, okay? So with that in mind, let's take our 5 colors. Now, many of my students request this all the time, that I show on the tape exactly how I mix the color, okay? I'm not going to do this. And I'll tell you why I'm not going to do it. Because there is no magical formula or foolproof formula to do watercolor. And if you're looking for a guarantee on life, you're in the wrong medium. However, I will tell you what I do and share it with you, okay? I take a piece of scrap paper, such as what I'm going to do right now, and I know the order in which I'm going to layer the colors in. And if you want to know what this order is, okay, all you have to remember forever in watercolor is the fact that you're always going to, if you have a white area, leave it white, okay? If you have a middle tone area, all right, put the middle tone area within the light area. Excuse me, within the light. Let's step back again, okay? Let's say we want to leave part of the sky white, which we're going to do. We're going to put the first area in, which is going to be somewhat of a light area. If you go to a darker tone, we'll call it a middle tone, you just make that tone a little darker and put it within that light area. And then when you get to the darks, you go one step further and you go ahead and put the darks within the middle tones. Now, what we're going to actually do here is we're going to do it for your benefit in several layers, and I probably will do the whole thing myself, but I may say at this particular point in time that you can stop, but always remember, use a blow dryer, dry the paper completely, wet it again, and then you can pick up step 2, 3, however many steps you need, until such a time as you will put your strongest darks in, and then you have to go ahead and stop at that point. Okay, having said all of this, let's remember now, it's not so important to see someone mix the color as to take the color yourself and layer the color on a piece of paper and try it out. Now, the first color that I used in this was a light greenish color, and I know that I had a little bit of the green with a little bit of cadmium yellow and probably just a tiny bit of the burnt sienna. So I'm going to take my palette now, and just for the heck of it, since some of you are curious about this, let's just put it out here. And I'll show you this one time because, again, have fun with it. Be yourself. Don't worry about ruining it and things like this. Now, The color that I want, you can see it on the photograph that you're looking at, is going to be a green. Now let me mention something about this M. Graham green, okay? And Art, we owe you big time for this. If you use any of the other major brands, all of your greens today just about are synthetically made, in the Hooker's greens and so forth. And they are sorry. They're the brightest side. They have no relationship whatever to foliage. They just miss the mark, okay? It's very disappointing. M. Graham has a green that is the finest Hooker's green I have ever used. You can almost use it directly from the tube for foliage, and it just fits in perfectly. So I wanted to throw that into you because not only that, there are a lot of other colors the same way. Now you can't see this too well in the video, but now that's a strong green. It's a little dark for what I want. So I'm going to mix a little bit of cadmium yellow with it now. See, it's still a little bit too dark, so let's get a little bit more cadmium in it. Okay, now I'm mixing the color that I like. Now you notice I try it. See, it just that's how you learn, okay? But since it's getting a little bit bright with that cadmium, I want to just warm it up a little bit. So I'm going to add a little burnt sienna to it. Add a little too much burnt sienna, but that's okay. Now we'll come back like this, and that's almost going to be perfect for the color that I want. Now you won't see this too well on the video, but you will see it on your paper if you look at it. Okay, with that in mind, let's move this over. And again, I may not mix exactly the same color. You see, and you got to get over this thing of thinking when you're looking at something and copying it that everything has to be perfect. Okay, that's a misconception, and it's just not necessary. The one thing you want to remember, what has to be correct, if it's light, leave it light. If it's middle tone, make it middle tone, and though you might be afraid of it, if it's dark, make it dark. And I promise you, whatever color you use, if you get the values right, it's going to work. Now, I can't stress enough to you the fact that you don't have to have it perfect. Okay? Liberate yourself from that. Get over it, and believe me, you'll begin to relax and have a lot more fun with your art. Okay. Now, normally, I did this at half-size Arches watercolor, 300-pound cold press. For my demonstration, I'm only going to be doing the 300-pound paper the same way, but I'm doing this a quarter sheet instead of a half sheet. Quarter sheet's 15 by 22, half sheet's 11 by 15. And if you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's for time's sake. We don't need to repeat something that I've already done. Okay, now as I begin to layer these different colors in here, again, I'm not attempting to really create something that's going to be perfectly matching what I've got on there already. Okay, now I'm going to start, and I want to leave a lot of white in the beginning. So I'm going to move this around right here. I've got my color mixed fairly well. I'm going to kind of come in, do the same thing over here. Bring it down, leave, as I said, a lot of the white coming through. Okay, now I'll just bring this up a little bit. Kind of run this all along my horizon. And don't be afraid of it, just do it. Okay, now I want to come back in. I left some kind of hard edges, and I want to mix a little bit more of the greenish color in here to break it up, but I'm primarily attempting to have a movement that's going this way, and then we're going to bring this back around like this. The eye level will come back around, and you'll see a little bit later it'll kind of give you an S shape throughout the entire composition. Now you can make these clouds depending on how much fun you want to have with clouds. You can pretty well do them any way you want to. Okay, now I'll take out a little bit of the pretty wet. So we're going to go to the second layer now. Now remember, what did I say? I'm going to put the middle. This is white. Then we have a light tone. And then I'm going to take just the green and burnt sienna. Now, if these don't work out exactly right, you know, with the colors that you're using, then you may. And by the way, I've done paintings using every brand of color: Van Gogh, Winsor Newton, the M. Graham, I think that's all the major brands that I have, and I've gotten really good results with all of them. So you know, it's just a little easier when you have a color that's just right where you want it to be. Okay. Now some of this is not holding up exactly like I want it to, so I'm going to move it around a little bit. Okay. Now I've got a little bit darker tone with the burnt. I don't know if I said burnt sienna umber a minute ago. I'm so used to using burnt umber. Okay. We used the burnt sienna. Now we're going to go in with the second layer, and it's just going to be a little bit brownish looking. Not anything really that much different, but it's a little stronger as far as the tones go. Put a little bit here, and I just want to make a difference inside of the area that I'm working on here. So we'll just kind of add this, tone it down, and so forth. Even put a little bit along the bottom here. But again, I want to keep these really strong tones that we have in there already. Okay, and that's my second layer. Now I doubt very seriously you're going to have a problem with this thing beginning to dry on you at this time. Okay, so but as I progress through this now, I feel like the white is standing out a little bit too strongly. Now this is going to be kind of a surprise to you, but I'm going to take just the plain cadmium red. Now this should be wet enough for you to do this, but let's say if it's not, at this point we would stop and let it dry completely. And if you feel like you need to stop at this point in time, stop, okay? And then you can pick up the rest of the thing again in just a moment and watch the video. But when I put this red in, it's going to look extremely dark, okay? It's going to look like it's almost artificial. And the reason I did this is I progressed through the painting that I did. I noticed that the red just was, I mean, the white was just kind of overpowering everything, and I really wanted the dramatic light area in the back here across the water. So I just came in. I'm going to leave a little bit of the white, but now watch how, even though this red's going to look at how pretty these colors are, how that green and red just complement one another. And but now probably all of you can do this at the same time, and then if you're gutsy enough, you can go ahead and do the whole thing with me, you see. But this would be a good point to stop if you were going to stop and let it dry. But the key to doing that now, so some of you don't come back later and mess up your paintings and blame me, you have to, when you do it, make sure that the paper is completely dry, then you can re-wet it. Many of you know what I'm talking about. You've seen me do it, and we've corrected a lot of your paintings in here with that. Okay. Now we'll just come in like this again, and you know, I'm just dispersing it pretty equally throughout the entire thing. So what I have now is a light area, a middle tone area, a darker middle tone area. Now we're going to come in with the dark. Now what you would do if your paper was drying, you would stop at this point and you would come in and actually, uh-oh, I lost my bird. So maybe that wasn't a good idea to transfer them. They'll probably come back again. But anyhow, it probably is not a good idea. It would be a good idea if your paper's dry, and I should say to go ahead and stop at this point. Okay, and then dry it, come back later and finish it, okay? Now, I notice as I go along, I want to fill in some more of these areas here that are a little bit, and see, while it's wet, you have these tremendous flexibility to do all these extra things like this. It's what I love about working the wet on wet. Maybe softening some of these edges, just going back to my lighter color again. Now, finally, I'm going to take a little bit of the ultramarine blue, okay, the cadmium red, and just make notes of this. We want to get this last color, which would be kind of that purplish looking color in the sky. And if it looks a little too strong, I'll add a little bit of the burnt sienna to it. I'm pretty sure this is what I use, but if it isn't, so what? Okay, but I know it is because a lot of the burnt sienna came through. So let's go with the red, the blue to give us this nice purple looking color. Okay, and then perhaps we could go ahead and do this on here like this, just as easy while I'm doing it. I want to thank that student for suggesting that, because if it means something to you, maybe it's worthwhile for me to do it. I appreciate the suggestion. I'm just realizing now it's just as easy to do it this way. All right, now what we want to do now, we want to put this last portion in, and then you see I'm not worried again. We'll just see how I mixed it. I tried it out on my paper. Now this may be a little strong, but that's okay. I know it's going to dry a lot lighter. But just to be sure, we'll just lighten it a little bit more. Okay, now let me lift up a little bit of this color. We won't see our distant trees. Put a little. Now I love the way that the stuff starts to break up. And again, as I look at my painting, you know, you're tempted to just really jump in and just. Now see, this is starting to show a little bit of dry area. You're really tempted to just go in there and try to repeat every movement, every shape, and believe me, it's not necessary. Okay, now we'll pick up a little bit more of this. Now all of this is going to be basically along the horizon. Go up a little bit higher. Now I might have had this come down a little bit too low, but so what? We'll bring this up a little higher here. And then down. And then as we come over here, I'm going to pick up something that you see many times in skies that's really very interesting. And that is I'm going to just let this little light area over on this corner stand out right above the horizon. Like the cloud formations are breaking up a little bit. Now see, this is starting to dry on me a little bit. That's why I'm saying for some of you, we're going to really seriously consider whether you should try to do the whole thing or not. Okay. Now I'm losing my color. I'm going to have to mix some more. And of course this is where many of you begin to panic. Hey, you got a blue and a red and it's going to make a purple. Okay? If it's not the same purple that you had before, hey, Mother Nature does that. Okay? So loosen up. Have fun. Okay. Now we're going to come here and then we're going to come here. Okay, it may not be exact, but it's going to be close enough. Now, I notice I have a little bit of, see, it's really starting to dry on me at the top up here. But, hey, we're going for it. So I'll bring this down like this. Put me a little bit more in here. And then particularly over here, I'll get some of this lighter color all the way across the top, let it fade. And I think we have one more little light cloud formation that we can kind of carry in here. What will happen is it generally will dry a little quicker around the edges on you. There's another maritime artist that I just recently, or nautical artist, whatever you'd want to call him, was very influenced by his, got his book and was influenced by his skies and things like this. And I noticed one of the things that he did, he never worried if his edges were a little bit uneven like that, if it started drying, within reason. And so we're going to likewise not be too concerned about it, okay? Blend all of this down like this. Now notice that in my original I had a little bit darker greenish color up here. Now I'm going to recommend that possibly after the first couple of layers that we do stop and re-wet it. But I will review with you how to do that. And it'll be a good experience for you because a lot of people don't realize that you can do that. Now, a lot of the things that I plan to do, like some of these cloud formations didn't come out exactly like they did on the painting. But like I said, so what? I mean, we're not really too concerned about this thing being a perfect replica. But now what you can do, like if this whole area is not blending right, I can just put water around all of these edges and soften that. Come up here and do the same thing. I think that's pretty well going to take care of it. We might have a little bit more of the darker ultramarine blue, cadmium, burnt sienna color up here just to kind of settle this part down. Bring it down and connect it. And okay, this is what we're going to leave as our finished color at this point and as our finished sky. And I think that gives you a fairly good replica of what we did. It'll be a little easier for you on that bigger sheet of paper, believe it or not, because you have more room to play with and experiment. So, having said all of that, let's let this dry and then we'll come back and start the next portion of it. Now here's an example of what I've been telling you all along. Some of the cloud formations dried and didn't come out exactly, not that I'm worried about it looking like the painting, but they didn't give me exactly the force that I wanted them to give me. So let me show you. Because of the fact that none of the colors on here are very dark. Now I don't want any of y'all, like the coon-ass lady said, catch a heart attack now when I do this. But notice it's not even affecting what's on there. Okay, now I don't want to get this too wet because now also you can play with things to a certain point. Like some of the hard edges up here, now that I have the water in it, if I just do this, I'll lose them. You see, a lot of that paint sits on the top of the paper. So this is just another thing to think about. And while I'm doing it, I maybe put this area down here a little darker than I wanted it to be when I come back and put my foliage in. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to just lift a little bit of this. You see, now these particular colors are not the nature that are going to come up real easily, but they're working out okay. And again, I'm not really worried if they don't, but since we're doing it, we'll lift them up. Now you'll see what the difference that makes when we do the trees. Now, let's come back with our ultramarine blue. Now remember, this is not real wet. Hit it with that cadmium red again. Put it up here where you can see it. And then we'll hit a little bit of burnt sienna. Okay. Now, over on this side over here, I like some of these cloud formations standing out a little bit more up here. And I lost that when I did some of the other shenanigans that I was doing. Same way in here. Now what I want you to notice how I can come back in and do that. Just let it run, because the whole paper's wet and it's going to completely blend. And you know, it just never ceases to amaze me how people have such a fatalistic attitude about watercolor. And watercolor is so flexible and there's so many things you can do with it. I just made up my mind years ago. It's a piece of paper. And I'm not going to let a piece of paper intimidate me. Now some of these, I think my paper might have been a little too, you know, because of the dryness, I diluted it. So I'm just coming back in and putting it in more like what I had in the original painting and more like what I'd like it to be. Because I'd like a little bit more of it, like to look like clouds breaking through and so forth. Now you see, this is coming out just about exactly like what I want. And anywhere you have a harsh edge, you can always come back and do this now. So that gives me a little bit more of the effect of the clouds that I want. I felt like these needed to be a little darker also. Because remember, when you're doing this wet on wet, you can't tell how darkly it's going to dry. And that's why I try to get you to not worry about doing this perfectly and copying it literally. Now that's going to be much closer to what I would like it to be. And it gave me a good opportunity to show you how effectively you can do this, okay? Now I think it's time we're going to dry this now and go ahead and start on the distant trees and then begin the actual meat of the painting. But this sky area, I think, is what makes the painting, and that's why I wanted to take a little bit more time with you on this. Now let's finish the last portion on this part of the tape, and I'll just looking at it on the video, I'm much happier now with the results that I got on that sky, and I'm glad I went back and did that. Also, you had an opportunity to see how you could do it. Now, the next thing I want to do is put the distant trees, if you'll look on your picture. And again, I've got kind of purpose looking color, maybe a little darker purple, but not green, see? And the reason I did that is, remember the rule of composition I try to mention to y'all from time to time. And that is the fact that warmer colors are closer to you, cooler colors in the distance. Okay, so like I said, this is easy to put this palette out here and show you how we do it. Okay, and I want to thank that student for that suggestion. Okay, now let's begin. Oh, I know what we did, and this is what's making such unusual colors. We're going to start with the blue and red again. Here's the blue and the red. But let's put just a tiny, tiny bit of green in it, and let's see what that gives us. Gave me the perfect color that I want. Now, maybe more, a little bit more of the blue and green and a little bit less red. But again, hey, who's counting? Now, anybody knows that red can get away from you. Now, for those of you that are using other colors other than this, in the green, you know how to adapt. Add a little bit more of the burnt sienna. You just have to tone that green down a little bit. Sometimes the red, cadmium red, is a good way to tone it down also. Okay, I'm mixing it on my little sheet of paper to see what it looks like now. A little bit too much of the green. So let's go stronger with the blue and the red. I'm a little bit too strong with the red that time. I think it's going to be more in the bluish realm. There, we got it, or close enough to it. Now, I want to just come in here and I want you to notice why a few minutes ago when you watched me, let me just check this out. Lighten this area at the bottom. This is the reason. So I wanted it to be like a little tree line down there. And in this area right here, see that little light area that I'm leaving? You'll see it in your painting. Okay, now we're just going to bring this along here. Now again, I don't know whether it's the same color or not. I don't really pay any attention to it, to be honest with you. But it's going to give us this more subdued. Now you notice how I'm using the side of that brush. Some of you may do it differently, so you might prefer a smaller brush. But I find if you move this brush around correctly, it'll do a lot of things for you. Particularly, now it's a little harder for me smaller, but it's doing what I want. I'm satisfied with it. Now looking at it, I probably have a little bit more of the blue and red, but no human being on earth will reproduce that color again exactly. So we want to again primarily have a little bit of variation in the terrain. Down here I'm just going to come all the way across, let it gradually go down. Okay, and then let's just eventually go right into the edge of the water. Now, with that, having done that and said that, we're going to just come back now and you see how I'm just twisting that brush, flipping it. Remember pencil broadsides and all the things that we did? Well, we used the flat pencils, and I've taught you the certain things you do with the flat brushes. Well, this is what it's all about. When you want to work fast and you want to suggest and break away from using that number 2 and 4 brush, which all of you, including myself when I started, want to cling to, you can do so much. I do 90% of my paintings with this brush. It's a 1/2 inch flat, and it works so effectively. All right. Now, when you get down to smaller areas, if you want to drop down, you know, you to a round or something, do whatever you feel will work for you. But I find that this keeps me from getting too bogged down in detail, and it works very effectively. Now, this is almost dry, and I wanted this to be highlighted a little bit more. So I'm going to take a little bit of my cadmium yellow now, and I'm going to go back with some of this green, and I'm going to lightly wash it across this bottom area so it looks a little bit more like foliage than the background clouds, which is what it was. Now see, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but it really it looked this way in the photograph and as I remembered it. So I'm just going to break this up a little bit. And then another thing I remembered, there were areas that was just pure burnt sienna coming through on it, and maybe a little bit darker sections. And so without really putting a lot of detail, I'm showing a lot of interest in that distant area. And I believe we're going to let that conclude this portion of it. Now, I don't know if you've ever felt a time in your life that you really just wanted to let it all hang out, just really go crazy, go wild, have fun, not worry about anything. Well, I hope that that's where you're at right now, because when I pull this tape up and we start on that bottom area down there, I can promise you, as they say in the better art circles, we're going to take off like a scalded dog. Okay, let's go ahead and put this on pause for a second. I'll dry it, and then we'll be ready to go. As we proceed to the next area of our painting, first thing I did was to get me a fresh sheet of paper to try my colors out on. We have a nice abstract going here that's probably worth $500,000 with the right signature on it. Okay, now we'll leave the camera about like it is. Now, one of the things that I want to point out to you, as after I got this first part in, I did this whole painting in less than 2 hours. It may take you longer. You're going to have the video to take home and work from. But the primary thing I want you to do is to understand that one of the main transitions that I made in my own personal painting in this painting, and don't ask me why, the marine artist that I recently got a book, got his book, was given to me as a gift, really possibly showed me more, along with many other things that have been happening in my personal career, showed me the power that you can have with light. And I think that's the most effective thing about these paintings that people are excited about. I had one gentleman who comes in regularly and picks up his daughter in one of my classes and comments on my paintings, and we have some very nice discussions about him. And he just said what it looks like is it's backlighted. And I thought that was a very good expression. And I think what makes this so unique is that because of my conditioning background, etc., I've always tended to go very heavy in my compositions. Okay, my instructor was a regionalist, and he was in the era of Thomas Hart Benton, Mr. John McCready, and you see a lot of similarities in the regionalist artists. Now, the works were very heavy, the compositions were very heavy, the darks were very, very heavy. Now, the regionalist school of art actually was created during the Depression, when these artists were subsidized by the federal government to paint. And I guess the paintings possibly were very, very heavy because of the fact that everybody was very depressed. You know, who knows? I'm not trying to draw any analogies or anything like that. But this design element stuck with me, and I've always appreciated it because it's a trademark throughout history, I think, of successful painters, and that is knowing not only how to use your lights and your middle tones, but knowing how to use your darks. But in this composition, I've changed tremendously in that possibly instead of my painting being 50 to 75% middle tones and darks, I've got it 50 to 75% light. But I've got enough darks in strategic places to tie it together, and that brings me to the next part of it. And we're going to go through this very quickly now because we don't want to waste a lot of time on this. I'm going to do the majority of the rest of the next portion in the lights and middle tones that we see in the top. There are no darks up here. But I'm going to put the darks in strategic places that are going to be enough to really tie the composition together. And if you want to know the truth about it, I really believe that this, more than anything else, is what has made this successful. Now, what's unique about it, I can take the next color that I'm going to show you, okay, which is going to be the lighter color, and it's also going to be a color that's going to reflect this light green in the sky. Now, you remember how we mixed that? The cadmium yellow, the hookah's green, and a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to move this up a little bit because, again, let's go ahead and put my palette down here and fix it up where you can see what colors I'm mixing, okay? And also, we'll put the little piece of paper over here to see what it looks like when I do mix it like that. Now, possibly I can find a little shorter board here. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, we have a tremendous, looking at your photograph, there's a tremendous light area all the way across here and all around the vessel. Then we'll go into middle tones and darks in the corner and this corner over here also. Now, very simple. Remember this forever. We're going to put the lightest green that you see in the upper right hand corner of the water over the entire painting while the painting is wet. Excuse me, while the painting is dry. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that light green and I'm going to cover everything that's not white, including all the way down to my grass here. And I'll possibly all the way up here. I'm going to put with the light green. Now that's what's going to surprise you. Now I'll probably do all of this because this is a kind of an important part of what we're doing, but then I'm going to sectionalize it and you'll see how easy it is to do it. So having said all of that now, just check something real quickly here. Okay. Having said all of that, let's start with our green. Now, that's a little bit muddy from what we were doing before, but it's going to be the same basic color. Now, I wish you could see, I've had these paints out here for a couple of hours. They are just as moist as when I put them out. And each color flows fluidly. It's wonderful. And some of your colors, unfortunately, are already going to be drying up on you. And you're going to have to get some more paint out if you want to keep them very fluid. And so that's why in the next few weeks we're going to be having in the paints, and all of you will have access to the same colors. Okay, now I want you to notice there's a light area across here. Now I can't copy this literally. I'm not about to try to copy it literally. In the water though, I think I'm going to put a little bit of blue. So I've got the cadmium yellow, hooker's green, ultramarine blue, of course the burnt sienna, and then a little bit of blue. Just to tone it, gray it down a little bit, and maybe reflect it a little bit more as water. I'm not going to labor over this. You know, I just got an idea of something, and you know how you get hung up and get sidetracked. All right. Now, a lot of water. We're going to start right over here. And I want you to notice how I'm going to go right up to the horizon, come straight across, and then I'm just going to go like I'm using a pencil now. Perfect color. Notice I'll do this. Just let it go ahead and hang out, man. Just do it. Piece of cake. Okay, now come on down here. Now when I get to this area, I'm going to dilute it even more, because I want to come around here. Now this is going to be solid, and I really want to go right up against the vessel. So I'm going to do this, just like this, and immediately start making that edge stand out. I can understand a lot better about what I'm doing. Okay, now notice though, as I do this, see how I'm coming all the way across? Okay, I'm just going to come down across here, and I'm going to put more of this, except when I get around the boat, I'm going to add a lot of white to it. So we're going to come down here, our darker green is going to be around here, and we're going to add a lot more water to it, excuse me, because we're not using white. Same way around here. I'll just see I'm diluting it so that this is standing out very lightly. Now I'm going to take my green, come all the way around the bottom. This is all done dryly. Just pour it on there. Alright. Now coming back here, let's put a little more cadmium yellow in it towards the back. I want this to be real light. Add a lot of water. And I want this to be almost white completely back here. Then I'm going to come up again around the opposite side, and I'm going to take that green again. Okay, and I'm going to start, and it's not going to go quite as far over here. And I'm going to bring this in like this. Again, we see it extends out. Come on down like this. And we go across the back of the vessel. And then we want to continue this around here also, and just bring it out a little bit more like this. Now, I have a method in my madness, and you'll see it in a moment. But the primary thing, keep those lines nice and horizontal. Okay, now down here, I don't want a lot of tone here, particularly in this area, so we'll just come on down like this and connect it with this part on the bottom. Now I'm using some of the color over here, and some of you are thinking, oh my lands, it's not the same color. Good. I want you to see that, because it doesn't have to be. Never. Now this is kind of getting a little bright, but that's okay. Now I'm only going to do the entire area on this, okay? The rest of it I'm going to break down a little bit differently. Okay, now I've got this little area here that I might just tone it down slightly. Okay, now it's at this point it'll be very important to go ahead and let it dry, so that's what we're going to do, is go ahead and dry it. Now, as we go to the next section in our painting, again, we're going to cover large masses. Okay, and now, the color we're going to use is going to be just the Hooker's green and the blue. Now, what's the ultramarine blue and the Hooker's green going to do? It's going to give us a turquoise, depending on how much other colors you have in it and whatever. How many other colors, I should say, that you mix with it to tone the green down or to tone the blue down or whatever. Many of my students said they didn't think I could mix this particular blue that you see in the painting with these two colors, but I did. However, the thing that you have to remember, and this is just the blue and the green mixed together, trying it out on my little piece of paper here. It's almost perfect for what I want right here. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you can ever repeat it, but it doesn't matter. What does matter, okay, is I want you to notice, we'll start painting this area now. Over on the right hand corner, alright, I have this area that is darker. Notice the middle tone land against the light water. Middle tone, strong middle tone. Over here, I'm going to have the middle tone water, and I'll start breaking it about right here. I'm going to have that against the lighter land, the lighter background sky. So I'll come in here, and notice I'm going to come over here, I'm going to leave a large mass of that green right here. And then I'm going to extend this out. I'm not trying to cover everything, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just going to break it up, but I'm going to leave the masses show through. And you want to notice as we come down, I'll just let some of it go into the green. Break it up a little bit, because this is kind of what the terrain looks like in these areas. Now, when I come down here, I want to really start allowing areas. Before I go too much further, let's go ahead and put this this darker color along the area right here where we see the land. We're going to bring it like this, and if you can't see your lines, don't worry about it being too perfectly done. Again, we're going to kind of do this and bring it over here like this. Now notice what I did is I surrounded this land area with this blue. You see, and this is the wonderful thing about doing this dryly. Now as I bring it up, it's like a pencil sketch. I'll just come right up against here. I'll break it. Allow some of the white to come through, some of the other colors to come through. But then when I come over here, it was low tide. So a lot of the sand or whatever's showing, or just the reflections in the water, will coming through. So notice how I'm just randomly allowing a lot of this color to come through here. And I'll break it and move it around, but I clearly established this edge here. Now I would say that in all probability I used a lot more blue, but again, you know, we're not going to worry about all that. I can see because of the yellow, the amount of yellow I used under, it came out a little bit more green. So what? Alright. Primary thing is just do it. Okay, now we're going to come across here, and I want you to notice, let's even try putting a little bit more blue on this side. Just see what it does. I want you to notice that coming across the back area here, okay, up against the sandbank, I have this other little area, and I probably used a little bit more blue, but I could care less. Okay, and we're going to bring this, and this is going to go here. Now notice, I purposely did this where I brought this up around the back of the vessel, or the boat, brought it down like this. Now I'm just going to come back up the other way. Now you notice what I did is I created a movement that's completely encircling my boat. Okay, and then I'll take this, and notice it's like a pencil sketch, okay? That's what makes it so much fun. All of this is going to be solid up here. And we're going to bring it down, bring it around. This is a boat, the back of a boat here that I picked up. Okay, and then we're just going to start. Again, I'm at a smaller scale than you are, so you probably can do this better on your bigger picture. But I'm just going to randomly break this up, loosen up, don't worry about it. You see, you can even come back over areas like this. Now, that's pretty well going to take care of this area. And again, it may not look exactly like what we were doing, but that's close enough. Now, I'm not going to stop now because this is a good point for you to stop rather than do this part of it. But the next thing I would like to do is to really establish the primary function of the painting, and that is to make everything point towards the boat. Now, the nice thing about the usage of the 5 colors is it's impossible to not have color harmony. I mean, you've only got 5 colors, you're repeating them throughout the entire composition, so you've got to have elements in it that are going to naturally work, and they're all complementary colors. But the next thing I want to do is I want to do my boat, and this is where you have to understand, I'm not going to do a lot more on this. I'm going to do a couple of small areas, but I'm going to take the section here, we're going to do the boat first, because the boat is going to tell us everything we want to know about what to do on the bottom of the painting. Okay, now it's very obvious that the vessel has, let's get another palette here. Okay, and I'll move this over. Now what I'm going to be doing, I'm just reaching over, grabbing my color. Now it's got somewhat of a burnt sienna-ish looking color. That's not a true burnt sienna, but, excuse me, raw sienna. So to make that, I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna. Let's get this up high enough where you can see it. And my cadmium yellow. Look at how pretty that comes out. Again, it's not exactly a raw sienna. Let's see if we can possibly bring this in a little bit closer now, where you can watch me doing that boat just a little bit better. Now, I can't do this and show you detail and mixed color, so you'll just have to wing it on this part of it. Alright, now, I'm going to do the whole side of the boat, because this is going to really give you a good idea about how you generate the color in it and this type of thing, and pass through it, okay, and do it. Now, I'm going to start right here. And I'm actually going to go around the front, put this in, come down here. And my brush is a little bit wet. Let's get to where I can control it a little bit more. Alright, now notice, I don't want to lose that white edge at the top of the boat, because if you'll notice that really, but you got to get used to this big brush, see? Thankful that my cousin let me help him a little while doing sign painting when I first moved to Baton Rouge and started my, was trying to start a business here, and he really encouraged me a lot, gave me a little work when I didn't have any, and I learned to really use these flat brushes, doing a little bit of lettering, covering a lot of spaces at one time. So I'm going to come across here, and by the way, my cousin is Lionel Cable. He's quite an artist himself, and we have 3 artists, I think, in our family that have done very well with their art through perseverance, and that's my cousin Lionel and my Aunt Mamie, who's also my godmother, and we just all persevered and never gave up and continued doing our painting through the years, and I think that's the key to anyone being successful. And my aunt is up in her 70s now, but up until she was not able to paint as consistently as she had been, she was just winning almost all the shows she entered in New Orleans, and a mighty great accomplishment for someone that didn't really get to pursue it until after she retired. But it goes to show you what you can do if you want to do it and you're willing to do it. Okay, now, this is a little bit wet. I want to move along this area a little bit. No. Yeah, let's stop and do this part, because what we're going to do is the boat, and we're going to feed off the rest of it. So let's put this on pause, and I'll go blow dry it. Okay, now we're going to go down to the side of this boat, and this is all I'm going to do on the boat, because what you see me doing here is exactly what you're doing here. And this is where we're not going to waste a lot of class time looking at videos, okay? Remember, if you don't finish what we're doing today, all of you are going to get a video, and you can take it home and finish it at another time, and you'll have this to refer back to, because I think there's a lot of interesting information in here. Okay, now this is where some of you may feel more comfortable dropping down to a round, and I'll go ahead and do it because I don't really want a lot of water on here. Okay, so I'm going to turn my palette sideways like this, and I want to get, if you look at the picture, we've got a kind of a burnt sienna and ultramarine blue color, a rich, that ultramarine blue just makes that brown look so rich. And we might even have a little bit of red in it. Then who cares? There's only 5 colors. Use them all if you want to. Now notice this time, instead of putting it on flatly and wetly, I'm going to come in and I'm going to take a little bit stronger tone mixed with the colors I just mentioned. And this time I'm going to go over everything again. Now, a little thing to remind you about. Remember I taught you all in doing the different things in the course that if you're doing something like this, you hold it towards you. If you're right-handed, you grab it and you turn it sideways like this. If you're left-handed, you do it the other way. But always drag that edge towards you. That's the way you, I hope I had that on the video. Let's come back again. I just dragged it this way. Okay. Now, we're going to come back like this. And the next thing I want to do is I want to just come all the way along here. And it gets to be pretty solid back here. Now, see, I don't want a lot of water because I'm going to hit this again very quickly with a lot of, see, these colors are going to continue to come through. I'm going to come across here now. And then maybe a little bit across the bottom with it. I'm not too worried about that bottom because it's going to be a lot wetter. But in this area here, now I want to take plain water and just soften it. These are great techniques. You'll love them. Now, this is not very wet. What does that mean? That means I can really pop some darks in there and let it run and try to really capture the texture of this old vessel. So let's take our burnt sienna and our blue, which is going to be the predominant colors for the darks, and let's just start enhancing it a little bit now. A little bit more burnt sienna still than the blue, but that blue gives the burnt sienna a little bit more body to accomplish what we want. Now we're going to come across here, and if you look at your picture, it just kind of comes across diagonally like this. Now this is still damp, remember that. Okay, I'm going to come across the bottom, and then we're going to bring it here to a good stopping point where you start picking up textures and things like this. Now, over here, see, I'm just going to come in and just notice how I'm breaking it up. That's how I created the illusion of the effect that I have on here. Okay, and I'm going to turn it back this way where we can kind of look at it upright, see exactly what we're doing. Now this is still barely damp, you see. Make sure I've got this on the camera for you. So I want to come back and again, if it started drying, you start all over again. Let it dry and, you know, do a dry brush. No reason it has to all be a certain way. But I want to make sure this edge under here stays relatively dark. Okay, and then we'll just clean our brush like this, and while it's wet, add this a little bit. Now you notice how how much it puts into it to just do all of this one tone like this. Very nice, very interesting. Now, if I like a little bit more yellow. I don't know if it'll stand out very much in here, but let's just, it'll probably dry, but let's just bring that yellow out. Okay, now, again, while it's still wet, I've toned it all down pretty much. I'm going to still put some more detail in it. But I'm going to come back in now, and I want to put some more of the textures. This is just something that was hollowed out from something. Okay, and it just intrigues me that they can use this and they fish with it, they survive with it, and probably have been doing it for a long time. Alright, now I've got it to a point where I think I like the side vessel, and the only thing I do want to do now, I want to come back in with a little bit more ultramarine blue. And while it's all still wet, see, each time you redo it, you wet it again. So while it's real wet, I'll take the ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna. You know, I might have accidentally got a little bit of green in it. Probably will make it a better painting than the other one. All right. Now I want these strong, strong darks to really jump out. So I'll come in like this and like this. Now notice again, you won't see it too much on the video, but you have these darker sections in here like this, you see? And then we'll come along the bottom in just a minute and round it out. But then towards the back, I really want it to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to do this. Kind of bring it around like that. And then we're just going to run it on down, soften it. And then inside of some of these areas here, we might want to show a little bit more detail, a little bit more dark. You know, watch you don't overwork this part of it. That's the primary thing. And then along the bottom of it, we'll dilute the darker tone just a little bit, and then while it's wet, just soften, make sure it's on the paper, let's soften the underside of this as it goes around so we don't have that clear edge going right up against the other. Just bring this around like this now. Okay, now let's while that's drying for a moment, let's make you aware of the fact, what are we going to do at this top part? Well, it's a repeat. We're going to mix with the same color, take a section, paint the light color in there while it's wet, do the dark. Do the same thing up here, the light color, go to the dark. Okay, and then this will dry a little bit more in a moment, and then I'm going to come in and put the final part of it. But while it is drying, I might kind of ad-lib a little bit on this with it still being wet. But I want to come in, and this section here needs to be a little bit darker. You see? And now, even though it's still a little bit wet, I can still come in and do this because I'm not overworking it. I want to soften that edge. This is highly in shadow. You see how that just really made the front of that vessel pop out? Now, in a little bit, it's going to dry, and we're going to come back in and be able to do some of the last part of the detail, which will be done completely darkly. Okay? Now, I think it's a good stopping point, so let's go ahead and pause at this point. Okay, as we come to the last portion on the boat that I'm going to show you, because like I said, all of you have enough experience to be able to figure this out yourself. So don't, be afraid of it. Just take it one section at a time, just like you eat an elephant. I remember a student recently was having a lot of trouble after he finished his curriculum. He wanted to be able to do some wildlife in charcoal and whatever, did some beautiful work. But he, of course, kind of going back to the charcoal, he lost himself. And as he was struggling and trying to figure it out, I came up with an idea that's really helped a lot of my students. Instead of looking at the entire picture and being overwhelmed, I took pieces of paper and I just covered certain sections. And I said, that's all I want you to do is look at that one section and paint it, and draw it rather, and establish your lights, middle tones, and darks. Because again, I can't stress enough to you that it's never color. I could take whatever color I wanted to use on this painting. It may not be as beautiful, but I promise you it would be successful if I had the values correct. Why is it that you can do a black and white, a watercolor with Payne's gray, a lamp black, or a sepia, and it'd be a magnificent looking watercolor with just one color? It's because the lights, middle tones, darks, design, etc. are established clearly. So I can't stress that enough to you. Now, when we come to I'm not going to put all the details here. Notice that under this little ledge, I put ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna, and I kind of made a jagged line like that. And then I came in here and I made little texture areas. Like Governor Davis used to say, I'm going to put some of these peckerwood holes in them. I never could understand the North Louisiana people calling them peckerwood holes. I thought they were wet woodpecker holes, but anyhow, my wife is an authority on that North Louisiana lingo also, and that's how they say it. Okay. This is how we put that texture in. And I notice this is a little darker in the front. I'm going to do that. Now, the texture I'm putting in, that's just what you put in all of it. And then if you wanted to, hey, be my guest. I didn't do any of this in my painting, but I did the same thing, put a little bit in here. You see, even a little bit across here. And then basically that's what you do throughout the entire thing, okay? And that's it. Now, we're going to stop here because I'm going to establish one area for you. And it's going to give you a basis to do the rest of the painting. I'm going to start with this bank, and I'm going to come down the side of it here, and I'm going to lay this in rather wetly, okay, and bring it down to this section here. And I'm going to have to take the camera. Well, maybe I can just lift this up and do it for you. That'll be better. Okay. Now, what I did, so you can understand, you remember how when you did the bottle, first thing that everyone's done, in the whole 11,000 people that have done it, have attended my school. The thing that we did was we learned to draw correctly, we learned to shade correctly, we learned to put things in a composition correctly, And to sum it up, we learn design. Now, the primary thing that I always try to stress to my students, that if you stay in one area, preferably your center of interest, don't work up of something to a certain direction and then get a mental block and you don't know what you're doing, so subconsciously you move to another area of your paper until you don't know what you're doing, then you move to another area where you don't know what you're doing. Okay, and you cover the whole paper, but you never do what I call gain control of the composition. If you stay in your center of interest and work areas around your center of interest, just like you cut a whole lot of a white piece of paper and put it on there and finish it as a complete painting, it will tell you exactly what to do in the rest of the entire composition. Using what we have in that darker tone there, that is going to tell me what I need to do in the rest of the painting. Alright, I have lights. I want to move into middle tones, and then I'm going to move into darks. And that's the same way you're going to repeat it on the opposite side, and we're not going to do that because it's not necessary. Okay? And I know none of you here want to be spoon-fed, so we're going to just proceed with it. Now, I'm going to do this side and then the shadow, and that's going to complete it. Alright, I'll go back to my my other brush now, because my 1/2 inch, because that's my favorite, and I can really get a lot more of what I want in here. Alright, I'm just take a flat brush. Now this is just the back of a boat here, up on shore. And don't ask me why I decided to put that in there, but because I think I did it because I thought it needed a little something over here to kind of settle it down. And to give you a point of reference, actually, maybe size-wise, or whatever, who cares, it doesn't matter. Now, we're going to go back. I'm not going to show you how to mix these colors again. We're going to take the green and the red. And that's why you're going to have this video at home, to look at it, look at it, look at it, do one section at a time. Hey, go home and do it again. I remember when I was taking, I have a couple of years of college after I graduated from art school that I did at night school over about a 15-year period. And I'll never forget, one of the instructors mentioned that when you're attempting to do something, if you'll take what you learned in class, copy notes, and just go home, and before you go to bed, take a few minutes and review the notes, it'll stick with you. I'm going to tell you the same way. Do the same thing, okay? Review your notes. Alright, and we're going to come back along here. Now watch how I'm going to do this. I'm going to come down. I'm taking the green and a little bit of the red and the blue. Just taking some kind of dirty looking color here. Now I'm really going to be repeating, as you're going to see when I get through, a lot of the colors that I have in the sky. But I'm taking kind of like that middle tone green that I used up here. Now this is going to be, I'm going to come in and soften this now. In fact, I'm probably going to wet this down a little bit where this edge doesn't stand out too much. Okay, now we're going to bring this down. And I'm just going to, see how you can wing it? Now I've got all water on that. I've got this all wet, rather, I should say. So consequently, I can blend this out. And you see that? Now, I'm not going to have edges running over here. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So let's take a lot of water. I want this whole section down here to be broken up. Okay? And this is where, when I got through, I wanted to finish this thing in one night. Now remember, I did that sky one Wednesday night after I got that book and I looked at it, and it was just so exciting. And I just couldn't stop. I painted till 2 o'clock in the morning. I do that a lot, as many of my students know. I get on a roll and it's just all pent up inside of me, and I just got to do it. Now, I remember when I got to this last part, this part here, I was tired. I just wanted to get it up. So I just let loose. I was going to finish it. Okay, so we're going to come in like this. I'm going to take the blue, the burnt sienna, take a little bit of red and put it in there now. And while this is wet, I'm going to do this entire section wetly. Now, overdid it on my red. Bad about that. Tone it down with the blue and the brown. Alright, let's see what we're coming up with here. Okay, a little bit too much blue. Let's just take a dab of red, if there is such a thing. That's the cadmium red, okay? Has to be. We only have 5 colors. Let's see, blue's a little bright. Tone it down with burnt sienna and the green. Excuse me, burnt sienna and the cadmium red. Okay, now it's drying, so I'm going to move out. Okay, now while this is wet, I just came in and just did it. Ran some of this across here, brought it up like this, put these areas down here. Of course, it's going to draw a lot lighter. See, not even thinking about what was going to happen, because this was part of the design that I knew I needed. I needed to really break this area up down here. So I just came in and I just mixed it all around. Now, as I got to the bottom, I really wasn't sure. I left some lighter areas. And you see, none of this I want too dark. Okay, now, if I were doing this on my own and not videotape it and trying to make it as simple as I can make it for you all, I would go ahead and do the shadow part up underneath here and whatever. But I'm going to stop this here because I want you to understand that this part right here is just about like what I want. Okay, and I'm going to stop and blow dry it because I want to put in the foliage down here. Then I want to put the shadow and just show you a little bit of the definition down here, and then we're going to call this sucker completed as far as my part of it. Now see here where this was kind of a little bit too dry. Well, I don't know, why am I taking it out? It looks good. All right. I'm going to show you a couple of little tricks in this area here. You can see what I can easily do is stop here now and come back and pick up some other areas. Now some of this I might have got a little dark, but that verdict is not out yet. But if you do, hey, it's sand. What does sand do? Anything you want it to do. Okay, let's stop and blow dry that, because now, in order for me to really understand what I do in the rest of it, I have to come in with this darker section in the corner. Then I'll put the reflection under the boat, show you how to do some of the line work. I think y'all can handle the rest of it. Now, you have to remember what I have here in light of the rest of my composition, okay? Because when I do this one isolated area, it's not going to look exactly right, but when you put it all together in your painting, it's going to look fine. And look at the areas I didn't paint for you and just interpret them. Don't be afraid of it, okay? I think you'll be surprised at how well you do on it. Now, it's very crucial for me. Let's move this up a little bit here. I've got to have this dark section because I played with this. I took it out several times, believe it or not. I washed it out. I didn't know whether to put lighter, dark, or whatever. And that's what happens when you jump into a painting that you do in 2 hours and you don't plan any better than that. But hey, that worked out beautifully. Now some of this I came up a little high with. You know, I'm working on a smaller sheet. It may not make that much difference, but anyhow, it's critical now that I come in and I put the darker shadow. So what I'm going to do, you've seen me mix color enough now. I don't have to continue to mix that color where you can see it. You know how to do it. Don't be afraid of it. All right, we're going to take the green, and this green, this Graham green, is just, I can almost use it directly for a middle tone like this. This is what I love about it so much. In fact, I'm going to. This is almost a perfect, look at it. Oh, look at how rich it is. And it doesn't have that artificial look to it that we have to tone down with burnt sienna and, burnt umber or vermilion or whatever. Okay, now I want to come in here like this, and it's going to dry pretty much like a middle tone. And I don't want to make it, don't make it solid. So you don't want to make it solid. So I'm going to kind of come in, and I'm going to do what I want. I want the eye to come like this and flow back into the bottom of the painting here. Now I might have even probably did this with my flat brush, but I figured in a smaller picture for some of you, you may feel a little bit more confident doing this. Now, notice I've got this pretty well. Now I'm just going to take water, dilute it, and kind of blend all this in a little bit. Now I've got that a little darker than I wanted to, but I wanted it damp, so we'll just lift that up just a tiny bit. Now, I know this looks pretty dark like it is, but this is where I'm going to go with that burnt sienna and blue by itself. All right, now while it's wet, as dark as that might have looked, okay, let's see if you're not going to see it on the screen here, folks, but I'm going to come back in now, and when you put that ultramarine blue and burnt umber, that's the quintessential dark, I can tell you that right now. That one was for you, Jane. Okay. Now, notice I'm just putting some little different patterns in it. Now, I love the texture part when we get to this particular area here. Now, again, some of this was a little different in my painting, but in my original painting, because I might have had various degrees of lights and darks differently. But notice I'm just putting something down here to just break it up, not really fuss over it a lot. But then when you're doing massive dark areas like this, it's always good, let it dry to a certain point, come back in with that knife, and you can really create a lot of interest like that. And that's basically, you'll take a little bit more time on yours. That's what I did. Now, so since I've got this brush out, I'll take a little bit more of my blue and my red. And while this is, oh, before I do that, before I take the blue and the red, let's go back with some more of the green. I want you to notice that under the vessel, over here at the back of this boat, I'll put a little darker area. This is the darker green color now that I had mixed a while ago. Okay, now back here, very few students wondered why I did this, but some of them picked it up because it was just enough to set this thing down and lead your eye back into the picture and kind of tell you what it was without going into a lot of detail. And I can't even explain why I did it. But get your brush nice and small. I'm doing this kind of quick to show you. And then remember, when you're doing grass like this, cross it. Don't just put solid masses every way you do it like that. Okay. Now, having done that, maybe make this boat just a little bit darker here. So they kind of have a synonymous, and soften that edge if I want to a little bit. Now let's take a little bit of these colors here, and we'll just see, we're going to start dabbling now, putting these real pretty textures in it. Now some of the ones I had down here dried, so we'll put, you see, you can do this dry brush now. Dry brush with a lot of water in it, but still you can do it, you see. And then notice how I came in over here and I just put a little bit of stuff in here, and then just soften this coming around. Like, you can do all kind of stuff like that. Okay, now down here I noticed that this was a little bit darker, so I'm going to come back in and maybe darken that. You see, but I'm taking one section, and what am I doing? I'm developing lights, middle tones, darks, and textures, okay? Now, having done this, this is a good stopping point. Okay, and if you'd like, we can stop the video, then we'll come back and do the last part as far as the water. So I'm going to make out like a pause here. We'll stop it, but I'll pick it back up again. Now, for all practical purposes, this part's finished. Okay? We want to come over, I want to show you the shadow under here. And the last thing that I would like to bring out is how I utilize this cadmium red as a kind of basic color to carry me through the entire painting. And I used it in the sky, I brought you all the way down here, and now I want to pick it up a little bit in these lighter areas and contrast that real pretty red against the strong ultramarine blue I'm going to use in this shadow. Now, let's do the shadow. Going back to my half-inch brush, even though it's a smaller painting, I ought to stop and change my water, but we're not going to do it. This will be good enough. Okay, we're going to take the blue and the red. Why I always put too much red, I'll never figure out. But remember the different things I've done in this thing for you all. I did the water by doing all of the bottom area green, and then coming back on this area with it completely dry. I did the side of the boat where I put a flat wash on it, I dried it, then I put another little flat wash in it with less water, and then worked it all while it was completely wet. Now watch how you can do this very nicely, even in any shadow. You can put your shadow in and work so many intricate, pretty things in it if you just think about it and plan it. So this, to me, is it's of the utmost importance that this be very sharp and very strong. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just basically come in with my shadow like this, bring it out along here, and I want this to just fade. This is all, see, the boat silhouetted against this light is really the reason the painting is successful. Some of this might be a little bit on the dark side, you know, and you never know when you're doing it, but it's all right. So I'll add a little bit more water to it. Now I'll just come on down like this, and notice there's a lot of lighter areas that come down. I'll drop this down a little bit here. Now this starts running into that other area. You can do that later. Okay, and then back down here we skip an area, just where the water was running and whatever, and this picks this up. And see, what I did is I just carried this right out to the edge. And see, and let it fade out, and then I came in and I worked the next section just the way you're going to see me do this one. Left my little light areas occasionally coming through in here. But one thing I did, and I love to do it, now this I don't want to be competing right here, because I love color harmony, and I'll come back and show you what I'm talking about that in just a moment. Now, this is the moment of truth. Right up underneath that vessel, that's going to be the darkest part of the painting. That's what's going to make, that's going to be the link. This link is going to tie the painting together. You're going to see the dark here, and the dark on the left side, the dark on the right side, and these three darks are going to lock in the entire bottom of the composition and give you the foundation that you need. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. But while it's still wet now, let's really come back in and hit it solidly. Now I'm going to turn this a little bit to the side. You see, it's still wet, so it's automatically going to run. You see, I'll do this, and then back here I'll have it a little darker, and then just run it on down, and then just break it up. That's one of the keys to the success of this particular area. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick I learned a long time ago from a friend by the name of Joe Jennings, who was a very close friend in art school. He just passed away recently, but never will forget the things he's taught me and showed me and shared with me in life. He had a lot of physical things that other people would consider problems. He overcame all of them and was very successful as an artist and a great friend. He showed me one time, he said, Larry, whenever, let's see, this sand is wet. Whenever you have the bottom of the boat, just take plain water, and when you have your dark like that, take a little plain water and just blend both of them together, and what happens is it's going to run into the boat and it's going to run into the shadow, and it links it together as one. And I've never forgotten it. Now, before this dries completely, cadmium yellow is a very powerful opaque color. Now I had a lot of yellow in here, okay, and just for the fun of it, I'm going to reflect the yellow down here. Might not be that yellow when it gets through, okay, but hey, so what? Might have overdid it a little bit, but it's that time and we're having fun. All right. Now, remember I told you about the red. Okay. Hold your breath. Take 2 seconds to change the water. This red is so important that I don't want the water dirty, because that'll mess up a pretty color like that in a heartbeat. All right. Now we want to take a little bit of the red. And remember, red, I don't know, years ago we learned in one of my classes, particularly my Thursday morning class, where, by the way, I have several people, quite a few that have been with me over 20 years off and on, and very accomplished artists. And we found out a long time ago, you take a little bit of red and put it in any painting, except in this case I already have it in the sky, you see, and what I'm doing is I'm reflecting the sky down here. Notice I'm going to put it right into the shadow. You cannot imagine, when you get this thing finished, the touch that gives it. Softening these edges, repeating the color. And notice how the red comes around. I'm going to just bring it around the same way down here. And then also you come around and very lightly and faintly. And see, it's the colors are very complementary to start with. So we're going to have some of it. We don't want to make this too obvious, but we'll have some of it around here. And I mean, when you get through this whole painting, you won't believe how much that'll enhance it. So enough on the red. Okay. Final thing. Something I love to do, and I learned a lot from the great Mr. Kowski, that many artists will know from the 50s, who died at a very young age. But he left 3 books that were in print for about 30 years. Ways with Watercolor, Trees and Landscapes, and Pencil Broadsides. I copied everything out of every one of them. They were my textbooks for a number of years until they went out of print, and I thought I was going to die, and then I realized, hey Buster, it's time to do your own originals, which I did, and someday I'll have a book out, and I'll dedicate it to his memory. I met a gentleman that studied under him at the Art Students League. Kowski had studied, was a Hungarian person that moved here. He did many of the designs and illustrations for Central Park, freeways, different things that were taking place in New York at that time. And what he did that was so unique is he not only could do things like this and open these things up to me, but he used texture. And he really knew how to use linear patterns to really make things get perspective, like sand and things like that. So the last thing I want to show you, and then we're finished, is the fact that notice how the perspective, notice the perspective here. We have a perspective going that way. Those of you that know what two-point perspective are, the perspective's going like this, the perspective of the boat is going like this. One is going to this point, one is going to that point. When you're making this to lie down flatly, I went off a little bit on that one, but that's close enough. All right, always put these linear patterns, and that's one thing I'm indebted to, as well as many other things, to Mr. Kowski. Put your linear patterns in perspective. Like if you're doing a puddle, do the external edges like they were in perspective and break it up. And then notice I'm going to come back this way now. And what I'm actually doing is I'm relating this sand to this boat. And I'm relating, then you put your little dots, you see the texture. You don't really need a whole lot, but you will never be able to conceive of how important something like this is. And then a little trashy stuff like this every now and then. And then get your dots in. And that's basically what I did all the way along here. Now notice on this side over here, I just came in and I basically wet another area like this, made some of it extremely dark, and basically put the patterns in and finished it pretty much like what you're seeing right here. Okay, we'll stop and let you do that part of it. And then the last thing we want to come back and do is a seagull. And that'll be our final part. Now let's have a little seagull lesson real quickly. Okay, all you want to remember when you do a seagull, I stylized these a long time ago, copying a lot of it I got from Mr. Kowski. I started to mention the story of I met a gentleman in New Orleans. You put your little oval. He had studied under Mr. Kowski at the Art Students League and was rather tragic. He was from Hungary, and I don't know whether he had family or whatever, but he was, see the oval shape here. He never showed up for class. He was missing for a week, and no identification. They found him at a morgue. He died at a very early age. But it was remarkable that for 30 years after his death, that his book stayed in print until they wore the plates off. And he was a silent voice, like Andrew Wyeth and others, during this period when people just went crazy about non-traditional, non-classical art. And he was a beam of light to more people than I can tell you about as a result of it. All right, we're going to put the tail in. Now, let's do the head. So you come off like this, and you do this and this, okay? Now, what you want to do, we're going to put this wing in. It's going to start on the side. So you see, you start with that oval. Get your perspective right on the tail. Okay, and then we're going to come up, and then this wing is going to start wherever you want it to start. Let's stay on the side of it. Remember that. Now we're going to come up like this, kind of come at a V. Okay, and then if we swing it, we bring it back like this. Okay, that's probably a little stronger than it needs to be, so we'll curve it like that a little bit, you see? And then you repeat it over here. You're showing the other side. And we'll come up like this, and bring it out, bring it out. Now you got your seagull. Now what I've found is I make these black tips. I created my own. The laughing gulls have part of this, some other gulls have another part. But I've just found that by putting the tips on the wings like that, making that head solid black, and this is kind of crude, kind of darken the tail a little bit, then I just come in and I stylize it. Under the tail, I know this is going to be in shadow under here. You see? And then I'll take this and I'll make a little bit more shadow, middle tone over here. And a lot of it I'll leave out and just barely suggest. So there we have a Casso 2-minute seagulls. Okay. Now, got it? That's how you paint it. So we're going to come back in here. Let me see if I can find one of those lost seagulls here. Okay, I'm going to do the one that looks very similar to what we've got right here. So first thing I'm going to do, we probably would have been better to put these seagulls in afterwards, but that's alright. I'm going to show you very quickly how you, see I'm doing the oval again. Now that tail is very important. You have to have that tail in perspective. And then we'll have the head in this. Now, may not be exactly perfect, but it's good enough for what we're doing right now. Alright, maybe I can even come up with that a little bit closer. And let's see if we can pick it up. Very good. Alright, now the primary thing I want to concentrate on to start with is my light areas. One of my students recently in my portrait course made an observation. We were doing a lesson where I try to teach my students how to layer graphite. I kind of worked this up. I don't know if I invented it, but I always had a lot of trouble with my graphite or my charcoal texture aging a person. So I perfected a method by layering and layering and layering, where you can almost get your pencils going from your HB to your 2B to your 4B. You can almost layer it where it looks like a photograph. And this gentleman was doing this, and I have him transfer it because they spent the whole course drawing. I don't want to waste a lot of time drawing. I want him to learn how to do this technique. And he made a very profound statement that I've said over again. I know it like I know the back of my hand. But he said, you know, he couldn't believe what he learned from this. He said, when you're actually drawing something in precisely, and then you go to complete it, he said, you're not drawing with lines. The lines disappear. What you're doing is you're drawing that person with values. And that's what you've seen throughout this entire thing. It goes back to lesson 1 when you look at the box and you see a light, a middle tone, and a dark, and the round and the triangle. Okay, you are not painting with lines and filling it in like a Crayola. You are painting with values. So watch how remarkably well this jumps out when we do this now. Alright, first of all, I'll take a little bit of gouache. Now you say, why do you use gouache? Well, I use gouache because it's an opaque medium, and it's a good medium. Now if you use the colors, the full set of colors in the gouache, I want you to watch the way this starts jumping out. If you use the full set, what happens is the gouache is just regular watercolor with a lot of white in it, okay? And they'll tend to be very, very pastel-y. So I really don't prefer the gouache as a medium. Not that it can't be used successfully, and a lot of artists have. It's like acrylic. You have to know how to subdue acrylic to really make it do what you want it to do. Now look at it immediately, you begin to really get the feeling of what this is. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue, cadmium red color that gives me the purple, and I'm just going to come underneath here, and I'm going to make a little bit of shadow, and I'm going to drag this down like this. Okay, because we don't want anything to be solid. And then I'm going to use the same colors, and where this makes a break up here, not that it's in shadow, I'm going to put that a little bit more middle tone. And then I'm going to take the same color and I'm going to do this along the base of it. Connect this all together. Now you see how this really begins to stand out. But now this is why I created this seagull. And it's a combination of a laughing gull, and no telling how many of them. I just decided that I'm going to design a seagull that's going to stand out and do what I want it to do against every kind of sky. So notice I established my light and my middle tone. Now I'm going to take solid pigment and I'm going to do this, and I notice that if you do the head and the tips of the wings, not the entire wing now, just the tips of the wings, and do a little bit of this on the tail, boom, and lose the rest of it. Don't worry about it. It really makes it jump off. Well, I hope this has been enjoyable to you. This is my last demonstration. I am Larry Casso, founder and director of the Baton Rouge Fine Arts Academy. We've been having fun doing this now for close to 30 years. I've taught over 11,000 people. I teach about 200 people a week. 50% or more have been with me 2 years, 10 years or longer, 15 years, some of them a large number over 20 years. A lot of young people I taught in the 70s that are established now with their families are coming back, and they're coming back to stay. And we have a lot of wonderful things happening here that are far beyond what Larry Casso's doing. So many contributing, so many successful in their own endeavors, selling their work, winning awards. It's a great reward, and it's a lot more than what I personally do. But this was done at a workshop, or for a workshop that is going to be to learn this kind of loose method in the lighter skies and things like that. And so it's a real tribute to the persistence of myself and my students to continue with this, and spend a lot of hours, a lot of time, get a lot of rewards out of it. And I certainly hope that this evening, January 19th, 20th, 2001, and in the many years in the future that people get to use this, that you'll get the enjoyment that all of us have gotten out of it. And that's it. Happy painting.